Okay, it says I'm live. Hi, everybody. Ricky T here. Let me do a little technology getting live over on Instagram. So hang on here while I click over there. There we go. I'm going to go back to StreamYard. Okay, hi, everybody. I think I'm live, and happy Wednesday, July 3rd. This is the day I do Wednesdays. I do these pop-up kind of things. There's a fancy term, huh? So hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. So happy July 3rd. If you're in the US, happy July 4th week as we celebrate our time as becoming a nation. I'm not going to go down that path today too much, but I did want to have a chat. I'm so inspired by my clients. Let me just double check, by the way, if nobody's here. Yeah, okay. I'm just checking with Jocelyn, our amazing marketing and support person on the backside of all this today. So she says it's working. Okay, so let me keep going. So some of you know I do this thing called Produce You. Here's the name. It's a bit of a brand. It's on a coffee mug. It's a 2-day event, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. That happens in October. But it's also a year-long container of support and strategy and marketing and creativity and all that stuff. But what I chatted with a couple of our clients this morning about we do one-on-one calls, by the way, and we also do group calls. We did a group call yesterday about this a tad. But this very simple, but I think profound concept that helps with the chaos of, getting myself into the world and how do I be seen and heard and all that stuff that goes on. One of my favorite concepts is from the world of architecture. And this also came to me this week because this last week, Chuck and I, my husband and I, were visiting his family in the Pittsburgh area. And we were able to go visit one of Frank Lloyd Wright's homes that he built for some very wealthy people in the Pittsburgh area in, I think, the 30s, I think the 40s. Anyway, it's called Falling Water. It's an incredibly beautiful home in the woods. Sort of Frank Lloyd Wright, as you all was always into nature, lots of windows, being able to be outside, see outside, how to blend with and collaborate with nature from an architectural context. And built this beautiful home. Anyway, so the point of this is an architectural concept that I want to talk about. And the term is form follows function. Form follows function. Hello, Dr. Layla. Form follows function. And I will connect the dot to how this, I think, will serve you as a thought leader in the world, as in my language, a bigger game player, as a coach, as a speaker. Form follows function. Right? Architects use this all the time. Anybody who's building something. Very simple. Think about it this way. Think about it, where does the food happen in a house, right? The kitchen, right? And so the function is to create food, right? We need to, right? The form solves the function issue. You need to have a place for food to happen. Great, that's called the kitchen, and that becomes the form. And for many of us in this space of thought leaders, heart-centered based entrepreneurs, whatever the term you want to use, right? The function is pretty clear. The function is very clear. We are here to motivate people. We are here to activate people. We are here to give people insights to their inner workings of their mindset. Whatever context your work is, right? The function is what we're all about, right? This is what I'm about. As a life coach and an early adopter of this industry, 35 years ago now, my function was to talk to people one-on-one most of the time and activate and give them a context for understanding how they're creating the life they want, and give them another conversation about how do they create the life they want, right? So in that conversation, the transformation happens. That's the function, right? That's what I'm all about in the one-on-one context, right? as a coach. The form in that example is the one-on-one session, right? Literally the half an hour or the 45 minutes. Like that's the means in which the function shows up in. And I think as thought leaders, again, we get so overwhelmed by this whole world. Like, should I do a talk? Should I do a workshop? Should I do a retreat? Should I do what's the form that my function wants to show up inside of, right? And it's such an interesting, I just wanted to give you all the distinction, first of all, to kind of go, oh yeah, right, my function, I'm pretty clear of my function. This is what I'm all about. This is my why. This is what I believe. And the function conversation is very much about, what do you help people do? What are you doing for people? What is the service you provide? Now, that even, as soon as I ask that question, though, what's the service you provide? That starts to lean into the form. Well, the form is, it's a 3-month coaching package, and it shows up in, 2 45-minute calls a month, and one-on-one support in between, right? That's the form, right? And here's my take on it. We get a little bit twisted in the form stuff, right? We get so should it be a 3-hour call? Should it be a retreat? Should it be what should it be? And I want to offer this idea. The form that it should take is the one that actually excites you and has you feel on purpose and in the game the most. Hello, KJ Energy. Welcome. So when you think about the form of your function, I invite you to consider what would be the most fun and enlivening and engaging and bring you the most joy. So when I work with one-on-one clients in our year-long program, we talk about a lot about that. Like what would be the most fun form? And many of them go to, I want to do a retreat, or I want the form to show up in a book first, or I want to do this 2-day workshop online, right? And of course it activates all kinds of questions, and how do you do that? But I go right to what would bring you the most joy and the most sort of creativity and ingenuity to the game, that then your function can be experienced. Because when your function is experienced, it brings us so much joy. And I think we spin out too much on the what should it be. And maybe I'm going to belabor the point a little bit, but don't overthink the form too much. And go to the design, or go to the form, the format in which it comes in. And that's a good word for it. The format in which your function shows up in should be one that actually brings you the most joy, whether that's a one-on-one Zoom call, whether that's a group call, whether it's a combo. And there'll be levels of love of these different things, right? One of my favorite formats is the event, right? The big event. Dare I call it a big event? The good news is it's now virtual. In the early days before Zoom and all this, I love doing events at beautiful places, right? We would pick a beautiful hotel. I did an event here in upstate New York, where I'm at right now, at this beautiful retreat center, and I would invite people. So the event model, right? On stage, bringing in speakers, that's a form that I love. I still love that form, still love inviting people into a room, whether it's live or virtual, and to gather people who are like-minded, want to be in the conversation, want to be in the transformation, want to be there, hungry to learn, right? So that's a form in which I happen to love. Like, hello, Lori, welcome. So that's just a way to think about your work in the world, to be able to say succinctly enough, here's my function, right? This is maybe you wouldn't say that in a marketing campaign, but this is what I'm all about. This is what I, this is the doorway into my work for you, the listener, right? How that happens, again, is the form. Okay. So, and now one more thought on this form thing. I would go towards your first urge, and I would fill in this sentence. I would love for people to experience my work through this format, and then fill in the blank, and just say the first thing that comes to your mind. Right? You can even put it in the chat here if you wanted to. And in and Instagram, by the way, I can't see the chat in Instagram. I can see the chat that happens inside the Facebook page, but I can't see it on Instagram. So Jocelyn will add some if you guys chat or put something in there, she'll put it in here for me to comment on or offer some ideas about. But I would go with, what's the first thing that wants to fall out of your mouth, right? And if it's, write a book, or I want to do a retreat, or I want to do a online class, and I think it gets caught in, I don't want to say caught, it gets into a jumble of, I don't know how, that will take a lot of work. Oh my gosh, what will that cost? It starts to go down this rabbit hole of logistics and doing, right? And I just want to dare to share this story. If you've been hanging out with me, maybe you've heard a version of it. Today's a different version of it a bit. But when I decided I wanted to, touch more people's lives, I wanted to sort of grow the impact I wanted to have. I have no idea why. I'm just one of those people. And if you're a follower of me, you're just one of those people. You're just one of those people that you want to touch more people's lives. You want to touch more people on a deeper level, right? Individually, collectively, right? So I wrote a book. That was one of the first things I did. Then the second thing I did was I created a live event around it. And to really up the game of that form, called a live 3-day retreat in upstate New York, I wanted to attract a lot of like-minded people. So what did I do? I went off and hired, and it took a little while to find her because she's pretty famous. But I loved Elizabeth Gilbert. This is going down the path of things that I love, people that I loved, and I grabbed, I should say it that way. I reached out to a lot of friends who were doing good work, and I created the Bigger Game experience, and had people who I trusted and I admired, and they came and spoke at our event. And added to the mix, I loved Elizabeth Gilbert. I loved what she was up to, and I hired her, and I invited her to upstate New York, and she came to upstate New York, and she was a significant investment, and I think that attracted even more people, and I put on this 3-day thing. And why I'm telling you that is the logistics of that, the cost of that, the overwhelmingness of that, I don't know if I have what it takes, who am I to reach out to? All of that stuff comes up. But the form was more interesting, and the function was way more interesting to me than the how. The why and the where and the who really superseded the what of the overwhelm, because it could easily have been overwhelming. And there were moments of is this going to work? Is anybody going to come? And all that stuff. But I went for it, and about 150 people came. I won't go down the list of what happened, but it became here's what it did for me. The first of all, I got to be on stage with dear friends who are doing good work, and then there was this moment with Elizabeth Gilbert on the stage, and she had done her talk, but then we were able to coach people into the room, and they went to the microphones, and Elizabeth Gilbert sort of did her wisdom thing. I did my wisdom thing. We did it together. I got off that stage that day, and I was just, when you're in that new space of, okay, I just did something that I just couldn't have imagined, except I dared to imagine it, and then it became real, and it so amplified my energy, my commitment level, my sense of purpose. Just the whole game went up. Right? In my language, it was a sort of playing a bigger game. And I dared to create a big form, the form being this event. Function got clearer, got louder. I got more intentional. Then I did another one the next year, and we did another one. Now we're into year 9 of these events, which I'll talk about the one that's coming up in October in a minute. But the form has now become a really fun game, if you will. And the function, right, pretty clear. What I'm about in the world is having people be seen, heard, purchased, experienced. My core belief is when people experience more of you, and I don't just mean quantity, I mean quality. They experience your heart, they experience your soul, they experience your service, they experience your messaging, they experience your coaching. The more people experience you, the more opportunity for them to actually hire you, be with you, want to work with you, et cetera, et cetera. So I like to think of myself as I'm in the expand the experience business for you, right? I'm in the experience expansion business, right? So with that said, just invite you to consider, what are the forms in which people can experience you, right? There's various ways. Thank you, Zoom. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, all of these things that people can experience you. And again, very simple. Think about it this way. Just checking here. Sorry, I just got distracted because there's some chats happening. I gotta finish that thought. I just lost it. Oh yeah, the more people experience you, and I don't mean numbers of people. I mean the depth of you, the commitment from you, the energetic impact that you have. The more people experience, the more of you, the chances go up. And I watched it happen with all of our clients. They start to show up online. They start to show up in classes. They start to show up in magazines. They start to show up more. People then are discovering them. And of course, they're getting clients and they're getting speaking gigs. I just was on the phone with 3 of them this morning, and they're filling workshops as we speak. So there's the conversation today that I wanted to offer, for you to consider. Like, what is my function? You get to have an answer there for yourself. Very different than, what's my marketing plan, right? Marketing is sort of on the back end of this, right? On the front end, let me say it this way. Actually, the function is on the, behind the curtain. This is what I'm all about. Marketing is when you open up the curtain and you're seen and you're heard. Like, what's the plan to be seen and heard? Which is a great segue to our event that is now in the chat. So October 10 and 11, completely virtual. It's called Produce You, right? The event. And here's its tagline. And I do love this tagline, and I loved it so much we put it on a mug. Where passion means business. Where passion means business. Where your passion and the difference you want to make actually is the source and the energetic aliveness of your business, right? So, and I want to, the details are there, right? ricktamlin.com. You'll see it. You can register there. It's all online, virtual. We do it from my home now. I bought a bunch of cameras. It's a 3-camera shoot from our house. Pretty fun. I'm a techie geek, so I bought all the equipment. I bought 3 extra computers to do it, yada, yada. Don't need to know all that. But I want to make a distinction. There's a lot out there now on the, the speaking thing and getting seen and being heard. And I think it's all good work, by the way. I don't think you can learn enough about it. So, go take a lot of free classes. There's a lot of interesting people doing great work in this arena. But I want to add my sort of flavor to it, or my maybe differentiator. So I love inner work and I love outer work at the same time, right? And what I mean by the inner work is, so I've been studying with a Jungian therapist for about 10 years now, 9 years, I think it's Jung, Carl Jung, right? So started out as sort of a therapy context because I needed to do some inner work about my own sort of anxiety that kind of like was low grade, and then would have like I really started to have to take a look at what's going on with my anxiety, and then I started to study with him more. It's still therapeutic, but it's gotten very interesting in terms of shadow work. Why I'm telling you that is I'm going to bring that into the conversation at this event too. Not we're not going to do therapy, but I'm going to talk about the inner workings of the shadow and the quote unquote reasons why we don't, from a psychology context, from an inner life kind of like, why do I not want to do a Facebook Live, and what happens if the world finds out about this, and all that stuff, right? So that's a context that I'm going to bring to it. The other one I'm going to bring to it is the metaphysical context. So I recently got my doctorate in the last year why am I don't know why I'm laughing. It's a big deal. It's called Advanced Consciousness Studies. So, which is fancy language for quantum physics, which is, as you know, akin to metaphysics. So I love the metaphysical conversation about how our thoughts create our reality, and our energy is having impact all the time, and we're never not having impact. And right. So I'm telling you that as well, because we're gonna talk about strategy. We're gonna talk about your energy. We're going to talk about metaphysics. We're going to bring in some Jungian stuff to this. It's not just a left brain, the 16 ways to do something. I'm going to get behind the curtain a little bit in the personal development and the spiritual development and the leadership development conversation, because that, if you don't handle that part, all of the externals are just emails going out. And an email goes out, it actually has an energy around it. It has a philosophy around it. It has your DNA, your energetic DNA on it. And this is why I'm always a fan of, we got to do some of the inner work before we just send another email. Because that email is going out. I'm using that as an example. That has energy to it. That has an aliveness to it. That has, dare I say, like kinetic energy around it. Right. So that's the differentiator to Produce You, the event. Of course, we'll do some strategy stuff. Of course, we're going to do some, where to show up and how to show up and all that stuff. But I'm not going to say but, and it has a lot more of the personal growth, spiritual growth, and psychology growth, or let me call it this leadership development conversation, because I love that part of it. Because here's the truth: you can go online right now and go watch a video on, how to do the 16 emails on a funnel, right? That's all out there. That's not hard. It's really not hard. The hardest part, I don't want to say the hardest part, the most interesting part of this is the inner work. So the outer work makes sense. The outer work is aligned. The outer showing up is aligned to the inner person and what you're really all about. So there you go. October 10th and 11th. Join me there. Produce You, the event. And I'll leave you with this big question. Back to the topic at hand, right? What is your function on this planet? Like, you could even get very esoteric, esoteric. Is that the right word? Or existential. What is my function while I'm on this planet at this time in history? And then what are the forms that people can experience more of me? And let yourself dream the different forms. And then the final tip and the final coaching moment is pick one and go for it. Whether that's a retreat, or write a book, or even do an online class next Thursday, whatever it is, stay with it. Don't cancel it. Don't back off on it because you had the urge to go create it. And you must follow our urges to make things real. So, all right, everybody, have a great rest of your day. I hope this served in some way, shape, or form. And I just will have a personal moment to those of you that follow me or watch me. What I know about you is you're doing good work. Thank you for doing the good work that you're doing. Whether you're touching one-on-one or you're touching one to the masses, you are one of those you're one of those people that has said, I want to move people, and I want to actually have an impact on people's lives, from an inner life and an outer life. So thank you for doing the good work you do, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. See you next Wednesday, if not sooner. Be well. Bye for now.